Welcome to Maya Uncut, a new video series where I'm just gonna sit down and speak naturally on a topic that I think will interest you. And today's topic is human design and my experience in living the human design experiment over the past year. For reference, if you're curious, I will link my human design chart in the description below. But for those of you who are sort of in the know, I am a profile 5-2 generator with emotional authority. Those are sort of the basics. Now, it's really crazy, but it was actually probably all the way back in like 2015 or 2016 that I first heard about human design. And I was working as a psychic at a metaphysical shop at the time, and there was a reader there who specialized in human design. And she actually offered to give me a human design reading. And I said no. That's the truth. Like, I wasn't interested because I thought that it was sort of like a dumbed down version of astrology, and I wanted to know the real thing. I wanted to study astrology, and I did that. And I immersed in advanced astrological studies for a very long time, for many years after that. And I think that that experience, the fact that I felt a no at that moment, that tells us something about human design itself, especially for generators. Because for me, at that time, it was a no. There was something else that I needed to learn first about myself before I would be ready to live the human design experiment. I mean, frankly, I wasn't ready at that time. I could not have slowed down. I could not have seen myself accurately through the lens of human design at that age and stage in my life. However, about a year ago, when I actually moved to my North Node line, more later on astrocartography, I'm happy to report I'm currently stationed on my Jupiter line where I'll be living for a year and a half. But yes, a year ago I moved to my North Node line, and that is when, and North Node in astrology is an indication of destiny, and that is when I discovered or came across human design again for the second time. And at that point, I felt really inspired to learn about it and to begin studying my own body graph and the body graphs of people that were really close to me. And I just remember learning like about the sacral response and learning about what it means to be a generator. And it was like all of the pieces of, you know, my puzzle, these moments where I'd taken these wrong turns, these moments where, you know, my mind, like, I guess had gotten the best of me and I'd made poor decisions in life. I realized, like, in all of those moments, like, I wasn't trusting that sacral response. And I started to realize, wait a second, I think there's something to this. Like, I think there's something to this human design. I think that this could be true. And right, like the founder of human design says that it is an experiment. And I like that. That feels right to me. Like, in the sense that any information that you gain here on YouTube or anywhere else, it's only as beneficial as what you do with it. I mean, you can sit all day and you can watch videos or listen to content on how to improve your diet, but if you don't start eating better, your life is not going to change. And the same is true with relationships or anything else. And, you know, like, I'm a psychic by trade, and it's my hope and prayer that every client will implement, you know, the best of the insights from the reading so that their life can change from the better. So that was something that appealed to me about human design, was that it encouraged experimentation and trying out the guidance, and it gives clear instructions on your best strategy for life and how to make decisions. And so that's kind of what I want to talk about today. And I made some basic notes. So I've been living the human design experiment for 1 year. So it was June 1st of last year is when I really discovered human design. It was like immediately after arriving on my North Node line to live for a year. And then I spent the whole year learning about it and trying it myself. So as I mentioned, as a generator type, I think the first thing I learned about was my strategy and having a strategy to respond. And right away, this totally simplified my life. I'm an Aries, like in astrology, and I have multiple degrees in leadership, and I was trained to like go out there and start stuff. And when I learned that that isn't actually like what is best for me according to human design, like what is best for me is to sort of shine my light and draw in those people, those experiences, those things that are right for me, and then just respond to the invitations that come my way. Immediately, it was like I could feel myself just like kind of relax. And I knew somehow, I was like, yes, this is true. This is true, like, because every time I would go and try to start stuff myself, like nothing would come of it or not much would come of it. But when I wait, like if I just wait and I just like wait for people to call me or text me, or I wait for clients to come to me, or I wait for synchronicities that give me ideas of the videos that I should do, or like if I just started to like more and more, I started to pay attention to the signs and the symbols, and it really like created, I guess, like this sort of like magical aspect of life, because I started paying attention to things that were coming into my field, and I started consciously observing my response. And one of my favorite things about human design is that it tells us that the greatest wisdom is in our physical body. And I can speak for myself and say that that's true. But like as somebody who I guess was very much trained to like believe my mind is the most wise part of me, like I had always used my mind to sort of talk myself out of my signals of my body. And I already, before discovering human design, I already realized that was my main problem in life. Like I had already realized that, like looking back on my life where things had went wrong, like every time something went wrong, I had a very, very bad feeling. And usually for a very long time before proceeding down a path, but I would do it anyway for whatever XYZ reason, like, you know, all the reasons of the mind and all the logical reasons. And a lot of them were good logical reasons. You know, I would like weigh the costs and benefits, and then things would turn out horribly. So essentially, like every time I had a really bad feeling, like things in my life, like looking back, would turn out horribly. And the reverse was true. Like often I'd have a good feeling about something, but it like didn't make sense. So I would say no, and then maybe like someone else would get the opportunity and the results would be amazing. And I'd be like, dang, like I had like a good feeling, like I should have done that. And so I had already, I think I was ready. There was a readiness, like when I discovered human design, like there was a readiness to accept this. There was a readiness to accept, yes, my body has signals. Yes, my body responds to people, places, things, opportunities. Oh my gosh. I will say I've been so blessed with my readings and my clients, and I've gotten to meet so many, and I still get to meet so many wonderful people, and I love connecting with their guides and all of this, and I'm just blessed. I'm blessed. But there are a couple of readings where things have been not blessed, like just a few, maybe the people were involved in unsultry things or things like that where it wasn't quite right. And every single time I had a terrible feeling. But I would tell myself with my mind, like, no, treat everyone well, treat everyone the same. You're here to serve. Do what they want, like this kind of stuff, like with and then looking back, I'd be like, wow, looking back, I wish I wouldn't have taken that client or things like that. And every single time I would have a bad feeling, but I needed to almost go through several experiences in life, like where I did have a bad feeling and I didn't listen to it to be ready for this guidance. So all this just to say is like, I was on the verge of discovering this anyway, but like human design validated this and said, yes, that's right. Like listen to the signal in your body. And if it's not something that expands your energy, like it's a no. And that was helpful too, because I think like where I had struggled was, I mean, I did sometimes just deny bad feelings. And I think that part of that was like my own time where I like came into my spiritual awakening, and it was like all about like manifestation, positive thinking, and like all this kind of stuff. So I learned to discount all negative things as fear. And then I went through like this whole other process where my astro twin, I was blessed to meet a wonderful woman born basically at the same time and on the same day as me, my astro twin. And she even recommended to me this book. She realized that I was out of touch with my fear signals. And she recommended to me this book, The Gift of Fear and things like that. And that book too prepared me for human design, because it taught me the body has signals, like those creepy feelings that we get, like listen to those. But human design taught me how, and there's like so many videos and stuff on what they call the sacral response, which teaches you where in your body you feel these responses and how to know what a yes is and how to know what a no is and how to know when it's not the right time. And that insight alone was absolutely life-changing. Like this idea of like something can be a no, like, and then later it can be a yes. And like, so the body doesn't only know what's right for us if we listen to it, but it'll also tell us when. And that's very, 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 very key. I don't want to go on a tangent, but just this week I had that experience where there was something I really wanted to do. It was a random act of kindness, and I was hoping to catch a specific person, and I kind of just was eager to do it. So I kind of had a feeling like, okay, this isn't really going to amount to anything, like the first day that I went. And indeed, the person wasn't there. And then I said, you know what, human design, let me wait until my body says yes, even though I was feeling impatient because I really wanted to like make this person's day. So anyway, so I waited. And then yesterday at 2:30, I gotta get ready. Yes, now is the time. And I went and I stood in line. I needed to stand in line to reach this person. And there was like 5 people I could have gotten assigned to. But where I stood in line, it led me directly to that person. They were there and they were so happy. So it was like my body knew. Initially I had energy for it and I had excitement for the task. So like, right, it was for me. But it also knew when the time wasn't, and it knew when the time was. And there's no way to know for sure, but it's very likely that like my body alerted me right at the first moment that I would be able to reach that person. So it's just like so crazy and so life-changing. And just to bring clarity after this lifelong battle of like mind versus body, like which to listen to, like to choose to listen to my body for an entire year rather than my mind was absolutely life-changing. And also to like stop going out and chasing after stuff and instead respond to the stuff that came to me. Like all of this had an unexpected positive effect of like bringing me into the present moment. Because when you're not like constantly going out searching and like trying to do stuff, and you're looking for signs and looking for invitations and stuff to like respond to, not necessarily like looking, but just paying attention, like it brings you into the present moment. So human design gave me the gift of the present moment. And it made me so much more calm because I came to understand that the teaching is true. And the teaching is like, if something is for you, it'll come to you. And it made me feel a lot less worried about like making mistakes. Like it made me realize that if something is really important, like for example, if someone's really meant to be in my life, if I don't get back to that person today, right? Because like anxiety is often like, we gotta do it right now and stuff. Or guilt, like for me, that's a big thing. Like, okay, I feel guilty. Like I should do this. But it's like, no, like if this connection is meant to be and I don't have energy to speak with this person right now, but they're meant to be in my life, they will come back, or opportunities will be there again. And so that, I mean, just that alone, like human design has just had the most positive impact on my life. and I'm just so grateful. Now, I also mentioned, so I'm a generator, so that's what I've been talking about so far. But I have emotional authority. So I made a video on emotional authority because I was just so excited to share, because it helped me so much. But emotional authority basically is like where you are, and like half of the people have this, and it's basically like where you're meant to ride your wave, like, and everyone with emotional authority has waves, like, you know, like up days and then down periods. And so that alone also was so healing for me, just to recognize like, okay, like no matter what I do, like there's an emotional wave or cycle playing out here, and like it's not necessarily my fault when I just have a down day or I don't have like a lot of energy. And just accepting that change and accepting like the emotional highs and lows as they come, like that was healing. That was like super, super life changing. But they also clearly teach. I have found human design to be extremely clear instructions, and it's just a matter of whether you follow them, and I did, right? And so the instructions are, don't make choices on an emotional high, and don't make them on an emotional low. And that's what changed my life the most, is like not trying to solve problems in the middle of the problem, not trying to solve problems in a moment of high stress. And this was hard at first. I think prior to this, I was never someone who would go to sleep with a problem that could have been solved during the day, or where there could have been a solution during the day. So like if something broke, I would try to fix it right away. And I mean, there's like, I could say so much about that, it's so true. But when I learned about emotional authority, I learned I'm not clear-headed in a moment of stress. And this had the greatest positive effect on my finances. Even though like, I would say the financial markets in the past year have not been good, I was still able to save like slightly more money than previous years. And it's simply because I stopped buying things when I was stressed out. Like I started sort of thinking like, okay, so something broke. So I'm stressed right now. I want to buy a replacement. I'm not going to. I'm going to wait until I reach a place of calm, which is what you're supposed to do if you have emotional authority. And like more than half the time, I would find, for example, if something broke, that I didn't even need a replacement. Like I had something else I could use instead, for example. I would find like, I started making wish lists for everything, and then only allowing myself to make purchases like from my wish list or shopping list, like when I was in a place of calm. And that's what they recommend, is like not buying stuff on highs, not buying stuff on lows. And only when you're calm. And so for most places I would order from, I order once a week or less, and I choose a point where I feel extremely calm and clear. And everything I put, like I'm not liberal with stuff I put on a wish list. Like if I would put something on a wish list, I really felt at that moment, like not, I want this like 9 out of 10 or 10 out of 10. But it's crazy that like often when I would reach a place of calm, probably like 80% of the stuff I would feel I no longer needed. But in that high emotional peak, I would feel like I really, really want this, or I really, really need this. So discovering my emotional authority actually led me to minimalism, which was totally like unexpected, because what happened is I realized it led me to minimalism of physical things and digital minimalism as well. So I started to pay attention to my sacral responses and my emotional responses with content. And I realized like for a lot of stuff, like I would ask the question, do I have energy to watch this video and stuff like that? Is this really a yes for me? Or like, am I telling myself I should, or is this just a habit? And like, I found like, for a lot of stuff, like, no, I don't have energy to use this app or to watch this content and stuff. So I ended up, as a result of human design, like pretty much becoming a minimalist. And this has made me so happy. And this has helped my life like so much. Like I'll make a different video on that topic, but totally unexpected. So human design led me to both minimalism in a digital sense, I would say in a social sense as well, like reducing the amount of people I was contacting, but strengthening the relationships that I chose to have. So like, and then the same thing with physical objects too. And this only has improved with time as I learned to better honor my strategy and authority in human design. So the more that, because it does take time, like it does take time, and I'm still refining, like following my strategy and authority quite a bit, but the more I do, the better it gets. And the other aspect of my human design chart that like really affected me here in the first year of living the human design experiment was learning about my open centers. And I have a couple, but the main ones was like learning that I had like the head center was open, and so I was being conditioned by other people's thoughts and ideas. Now, part of my own personal struggle, a different future video, is with telepathy, because I practice my psychic gifts so much that I've become in certain ways like super psychic. And so I'm super, like I do sometimes accidentally psychically link to a person and then I get their thoughts. And I know that does sound really woo-woo. This is a real struggle of mine. It's very hard. Like I can love someone very, very much, but if they're in a depressed time or like a negative thinking time, being around them then transfers that mental experience to me, mental health issues to me and stuff. So anyway, but the point is like, I guess like with realizing my head center was open, first of all, it validated my experience like that I was having. But I also started to understand, I had before like experiences of discovering a body of knowledge, and then like it was like my whole entire life changed, like that came from the outside. So I'd had that experience before, but I started asking the question like, how are these ideas influencing me, and are they really influencing me for the better? Because I realized I was being influenced. Like, no, like I'm not entirely an independent thinker, right? Like somebody who has a defined head center, who's like really thinking for themselves. Like, no, I am being shaped by the thoughts and ideas of others. So how am I being shaped? And that is a big part of what led me to digital minimalism, because I started being very conscious about the thoughts I was putting into my head, both in the sense of people I was having around me in my life, but also like content creators online, books that I was reading, all these things. And I started using my sacral response and my emotional authority to select what I was going to consume at an ideal level. So for example, again, like creating lists of videos or lectures I thought I might watch, not in the moment where like I'm feeling panicked and like, oh, I need to learn about this thing, but like a couple days later, like once I reached a calm and it's like, okay, do I still feel that this idea is going to serve me? Am I consciously like engaging in this? Do I want to think more like this person? Do I want to incorporate this, into my state of being? And also, I have an open spleen. And so that to me, like, that was hugely impactful as well, because I would sometimes like feel perfectly fine, like for a whole day, like safe, secure, good. And then like I would encounter a person and suddenly I'd have like survival fears, like intense, like maybe health survival fears, or like fear of war, or like extreme financial fear, just like suddenly just not feeling safe, like not feeling well. And it was very weird, and sometimes I wouldn't be able to figure out why that was happening. So learning that I had like this open spleen, and that's our like sense of well-being, and learning that it was conditioned like from the outside, I began to give myself permission to say no thank you to people who kind of put, whether they're like online, in person, like if they're putting out those constant signals of like things are not okay, I'm not okay, life isn't safe, like, and I was realizing I was really sensitive to that, and I would get a lot of distress, like have trouble sleeping after being around people like that, and things like that. And so I started to, first of all, recognize that was happening. Because I think before, again, like I used my mind to say, no, that could not possibly be happening, right? Like that's probably not happening. or it's no big deal. And I realized, no, this is a big deal, and this is affecting my health actually, like with an open spleen. And so I started to give myself permission to move away from things that were upsetting to the splenic center and pay attention to things that were fruitful. So learning about my open and defined centers has also been like really, really helpful too. But yeah, I just wanted to share with all of you a little bit about the effects of living the human design experiment over the past year, because living the experiment over this time has probably been the best thing I did in the past year. And the thing I'm the most grateful for. And recently too, I launched a human design reading, and I've just felt so much energy, like when people order these, like to share everything that I know. And I recently put out a big series too on like the human design environments, and some of you might be like, what is this? Why are you creating this content? Or just curious about like, is human design really valuable, and you know, what is it all about? So I just wanted to share some of my experience in my video today. For anybody who's stuck with me the whole time, thank you for watching. If you like this format, like Maya Uncut, let me know. I'm currently in the process of trying out a whole bunch of different things and sort of seeing what's fun and what sticks. So let me know what you like. Thank you for watching. Many, 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 many blessings to all of you, and